The job Jack Mercer hated quiet jobs. They always got loud later. He was sitting in a cheap diner on Moonbase Sigma, sipping cold coffee and watching the clock. It was already 5 minutes past the meeting time. He didn't like waiting, but the pay was good, too good for something that was just an escort mission. A tall man in a dark coat finally walked in. His face was hidden behind tinted glasses. He sat across from Jack without saying hello. Instead, he slid a data chip across the table. "Your job," he said in a low voice, "is simple. Take the twins to Earth Prime. No questions. No delays." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Twins?" The man nodded. "Alien, important, quiet. You leave in 2 hours. Payment is already transferred." Jack checked his wrist device. The money was there. Triple his usual. Great. Either this was a very important job or a very dangerous one. "Where are they?" Jack asked. "They'll find you." And with that, the man stood up and walked away, leaving behind a strange smell, like burnt metal and roses. 2 hours later, Jack stood at Dock 9 waiting. He didn't have to wait long. They walked toward him like shadows, two small figures, in matching gray cloaks. Their skin was pale blue, their eyes too big for their faces, shining like liquid silver. One looked up at him and blinked. "You're Jack Mercer," the twin said in a calm voice. "We are ready. No names, no greetings. Just, we are ready." Jack stared. "Right, okay, let's go." He led them into his ship, the Rust Bucket, a small freighter that looked worse than it flew. Once inside, he locked the doors and ran. "A security scan." "Names?" he asked, trying to keep things professional. The twins looked at each other. Then one said, "You can call us Rin and Ray." "Right," Jack muttered. "Rin and Ray. Got it." He started the engine, set the course for Earth Prime, and leaned back. This job was too quiet. Halfway through the journey, Jack began to feel watched. The twins sat silently in the back of the ship, never speaking unless spoken to. They didn't eat. They didn't sleep. They just stared at the stars through the window. Jack tried to break the silence. "So, what's on Earth Prime?" Neither twin answered. "Vacation? School? Secret mission?" Still nothing. Then, finally, Rin turned his head. "We are running." Jack's hand paused over the control panel. "From what?" Ray whispered. "Everyone." The lights in the ship flickered. Jack frowned. "Okay, that's creepy. Are you two—" Before he could finish, the ship's alarm blared. "Warning. Incoming ship detected, unregistered, armed." Jack cursed and jumped to the console. A sleek black ship was on their tail, fast and deadly. "Who the hell is that?" he said, pulling the ship into evasive maneuvers. Ray stood beside him now, watching the screen. "They found us faster than expected." "You know them?" "Yes," she said softly. "And they want to kill us. You too, probably." "Great," Jack muttered. "Of course they do." He twisted the controls and sent the Rust Bucket into a dive. The enemy fired, red plasma shots slicing past them like angry lightning. "Can either of you do something useful?" he shouted. Rin stepped forward, calm as always. He raised a hand and pressed it to the ship's wall. The light stopped flickering. The engines hummed louder. The ship moved faster. "Wait, did you just boost the ship?" Jack asked, stunned. Rin simply said, "We learn fast." Jack managed to shake off the attacker after a few sharp turns and a very risky jump through a small asteroid belt. When things calmed down, he turned to the twins. "All right, time to talk. Who are you really?" Ray looked at him, her silver eyes glowing. "We are the last of our kind. What we carry in our minds, many will kill for." Jack crossed his arms. "What do you mean, carry in your minds?" Rin answered. "We are more than just passengers. We are keys. And you, Jack Mercer, you were chosen to protect us, whether you like it or not." A chill ran down Jack's spine. This was no simple escort job. He looked out at the stars. Something was coming. He could feel it. And somehow, these quiet alien twins were at the center of it all. The chase begins. Jack Mercer didn't believe in fate. He believed in bad luck. And this job? It was smelling more and more like a steaming pile of it. His ship, the Rust Bucket, floated in deep space. Earth Prime was still days away, and his passengers, two alien twins with eyes like liquid silver, had just dropped a truth bomb. They were keys. To what, they wouldn't say, but people were willing to kill for it. Jack leaned against the cold metal wall of the ship's control room, watching the twins with a mix of suspicion and awe. Rin was silent, sitting cross-legged like a meditating monk. Ray paced slowly, eyes scanning the shadows like they expected something to crawl out of them. "We need to make a stop," Rin finally said. Jack frowned. "What kind of stop?" Ray looked at him. "Someplace hidden. Safe." "Sweetheart, we're in the middle of space. There's no safe out here, just pirates, vacuum, and malfunctioning coffee machines." Ray stared at him without blinking. "There is one place, but we need your trust." Jack scoffed. "You've been hiding things since I met you. Now you want trust?" Then something beeped, sharp, loud, urgent, proximity alert. Jack turned back to the console. Another ship, not the black one from before. This one was larger, shaped like a curved blade, and glowing blue at the edges. Its weapons were hot. "More friends of yours?" he asked, already pulling the ship into motion. "No," said Rin, standing slowly. "Worse?" The enemy ship launched a probe, a tiny, fast-moving ball of red light. It didn't attack, it just scanned the Rust Bucket, then turned around and vanished. Jack's eyes narrowed. "They're not here to fight, they're tracking us." Ray nodded. "They want to know where we're going, they want to follow us to it." "To what?" Jack demanded. "You keep saying it like I'm supposed to know." Rin's voice was calm but heavy. "The vault." "What vault?" "The one holding the memory of our kind. The history. The truth." Jack let out a long breath. "You're not just escaping something. You're leading them somewhere." Ray nodded slowly. "If we die before we reach the vault, the past dies with us." Jack slammed his fist on the console. "And what happens if they get there first?" Rin looked him dead in the eyes. "Then the galaxy burns." The chase didn't end. It just got quieter. Too quiet. For the next 12 hours, the enemy ship kept its distance, like a predator stalking prey. It didn't fire, didn't speak, didn't leave. It just followed, watching, waiting. Jack didn't sleep. He kept one eye on the scanner and one hand on his blaster. He had been through wars, lost friends, seen planets turn to dust, but nothing felt quite like this. This was the kind of silence that came before a storm. Ray finally broke it. "You're scared," Jack snorted. "You're not?" Ray tilted her head. "Fear wastes energy." Jack looked at her for a long moment. She wasn't wrong, but it didn't mean she wasn't hiding it well. "Why me?" he asked suddenly. "Why was I chosen to protect you?" Rin looked up. "Because you're one of the few who don't believe in heroes." Jack raised an eyebrow. "That's why you picked me?" "No," said Rin. "That's why you'll survive." They made a jump to an unregistered sector, a graveyard of old ships, floating ruins of some forgotten battle. Broken metal, drifting, debris, silent ghosts. Jack guided the Rust Bucket through the wreckage, finding cover behind a hollowed-out cargo cruiser. "Here," Ray said softly. "We'll be safe for a little while." Jack shut off the main engines and powered down the lights. Just life support and emergency beacons stayed on. The enemy ship passed by overhead, but didn't stop. For now, they were hidden. But something was wrong. Jack felt it. Then, the whisper came, not out loud, inside his mind. "Jack." He froze, looked around. The twins were silent, not looking at him, just waiting. Jack Mercer. He gripped the edge of the console. Who's in my head? Ray didn't look, surprised. It has started. What has? The memory. Jack turned to her, confused. What memory? You're not making any... And then it hit him. A vision, just for a second. Flashes of another life. He was standing in a white room, wearing armor, holding something glowing. The twins were there, but older. They were speaking. In a language he didn't recognize, but somehow understood. Then, blackness. Back to the present. Back to his ship. Jack stumbled back, sweating. What the hell was that? Ray stepped forward and touched his arm. You were with us before, she said softly. You just don't remember yet. Above the debris field, the enemy ship powered up its weapons again. They had found them. But now Jack knew something he didn't before. This wasn't just about escorting the twins. This was about him, and something inside him was waking up. Secrets in the silence. The silence inside the rust bucket was thick. Jack Mercer sat in the pilot seat, staring at the stars beyond the broken window screen. His breath fogged slightly in the cold, recycled air, but he wasn't shivering. From temperature, he was shivering because his brain was lying to him, or was it? He had seen something. A memory, but not his. At least not one he remembered. Ray and Rin sat behind him, still as statues. Quiet. Watching him. Not like passengers. Not like children. Like keepers of secrets. Jack finally spoke, breaking. The silence like glass. Who the hell am I? Ray didn't smile. She only blinked. You are Jack Mercer. Yeah? The Jack Mercer who served in the Earth Union Army? The guy who got kicked out for punching a general? The guy who owes 3 gangs on Mars and can't hold down a decent job for more than 2 weeks? Rin stood. You are more than that. You were made to forget. Jack turned in his chair, his voice low. Made to forget what? Rin and Ray exchanged a look. Then Rin walked to the side of the ship and opened a compartment Jack hadn't even known was there. Inside was a small glowing cube, blue and gold, humming with quiet energy. This, Rin said, belongs to you. Jack narrowed his eyes. What is it? Ray stepped forward. A key, 1 of 3. It only responds to your DNA. It proves who you were and what you must become again. Jack stood up slowly, like a man walking into fire. Let's say, I believe this sci-fi horror story. What's behind door number 3? Ray looked at him. The Vault of Echoes. Sounds friendly, Jack muttered. They didn't have long to talk. The enemy ship returned. This time, it brought friends. 3 smaller ships appeared on the radar, fast and armed. Surrounding the rust bucket like wolves around an injured deer. Jack cursed under his breath and slammed his palm against the control panel. You said we'd be safe here, Ray replied calmly. We said we'd be hidden. They found us faster than we expected. The ship shook violently as the first blast hit. Lights flickered, alarms screamed. Brace yourselves, Jack shouted, yanking the ship into motion. They spun between broken hulks of ancient warships, dodging debris and enemy fire. Then Ray whispered something under her breath. Jack didn't catch it, but the ship did. Suddenly, everything froze. Time didn't stop, but space bent. They slipped into a fold, a tear in the void, and vanished. They appeared in a different part of space, darker, older, a place not on any star map. The stars looked wrong. The sky was filled with the ruins of things too big, too ancient to name, floating temples, shattered planets, dead gods in orbit. Rin's voice was quiet. This is where the vault is hidden. Jack turned to him slowly. You just teleported us across half the galaxy with a whisper. What are you? Ray stepped beside him. We are not just twins, we are fragments, split souls. We carry echoes of a race that chose silence over war, but now, the silence is breaking. They approached a black planet, no lights, no signals, just a smooth, round surface like obsidian. The vault is beneath, Rin said. buried, protected. Jack's mind was spinning. You brought me here because I have the key and the memory. Ray nodded. You were one of the last protectors, the human who volunteered to be our anchor. When the war ended, you asked to forget. We honored that. Jack rubbed his forehead. Why would I want to forget something this important? Rin answered. Because what you did back then broke your heart. They landed on the surface. The ground was soft and strange, like stepping on velvet stone. In front of them stood a giant doorway with no handle, no keypad, just 3 triangle-shaped holes glowing faintly. Jack stepped forward and held up the cube. It floated from his hand, slid into the first hole. The door pulsed with energy. Ray held out a second cube. The second is from us. She placed it in the second hole. The third hole stayed empty. Jack looked at them. Where's the third? Rin looked down. That's the problem. Before Jack could ask more, the door opened slightly, just enough for one person. Ray looked at Jack. Only you can enter. The vault will only speak to you. Jack hesitated. And if I say no? Rin looked at the sky. Then the silence wins, and everything dies not with war, but with forgetting. Jack stepped through. The moment he entered, his mind lit up like fireworks. Memories. Not just images. Feelings. Whole lives. His hands glowed. He saw himself in armor made of starlight. He remembered holding the line against a fleet of shadow ships. He remembered saying goodbye to Ray and Rin, and choosing to forget everything because he had made a deal. One final war, and then peace if he agreed to disappear. He chose to become a nobody, to give up his place in the stars. And now, they had brought him back. The vault's voice echoed in his mind. Protector, do you accept your past? Jack fell to his knees. His past wasn't just painful. It was dangerous. And now it wanted back in. Outside, the enemy ships appeared again, hovering just above the planet. But this time, someone was guiding them. A familiar face stepped out of the lead ship. Jack's old commander, the man who once betrayed him. And now, he was working for the enemy. Betrayal at Nova Station, Jack Mercer stepped out of the vault, and everything had changed. His face was pale. His eyes, once tired and skeptical, now burned with something fierce, like fire that had been waiting a long time to light again. The vault had given him back pieces of himself. Names, faces, decisions that shook galaxies. But it didn't give him peace. Outside, the sky was no longer empty. 4 enemy ships hovered above the planet. They were sleek and silent, glowing red, at the edges like they were angry. But Jack didn't fear the ships, he feared the man stepping out of the lead one, Commander Silas Kane, Jack's old commander, the man who once led Earth Union's elite squadron, the man Jack had followed into war, and then tried to kill. Not because of orders, because Silas had betrayed the mission, betrayed them all. Rin stepped forward, voice cold. He should not be alive. He shouldn't, Jack said, but snakes always survive. Silas smiled as he approached, helmet under his arm. His face hadn't changed. Sharp jaw, confident eyes, always a little too perfect. Jack Mercer, Silas said like an old friend. Still playing the hero? Jack clenched his jaw. Still pretending you're human? They met in the middle, tension crackling like static in the air. You were supposed to be dead, Jack said. Silas chuckled. And you were supposed to forget. Looks like we both disappointed someone. The twins stood behind Jack, unmoving. Silas turned his gaze to them. I've been chasing these 2 across 7 systems. Do you know how expensive that is? They've caused a lot of trouble. They're not the problem, Jack replied. You are? Silas raised an eyebrow. They didn't tell you, did they? Tell me what? Silas leaned in closer. You think you chose to forget? You didn't. They made you forget. They used your mind like a storage locker, locked away all the secrets of the vault inside you. And when the time was right, they came to pick the lock. Jack blinked. Ray didn't move. Rin stayed silent. Is it true? Jack asked them. Ray answered softly. Yes. Silence. Jack stepped back, his hands curling into fists. You used me. You chose peace, Rin said. I chose to be left alone, Jack growled. Silas smiled wider. So you see now, Jack. They're not innocent. They're not your friends. They're carriers, weapons dressed up like lost children. Jack didn't answer. His mind was spinning again. Too many truths. Too many lies. Then Silas made his final move. I'm offering you a deal, he said. Give me the twins, walk away, no war, no fight. Just your quiet little life again. You're good at that. Running away? Jack didn't speak. His silence stretched long enough for Ray to finally whisper, We understand. You must choose. Jack turned, looked at them, tiny, calm, too quiet, too powerful, too honest. I hate this, he muttered, then looked back at Silas. Here's my answer. And he shot Silas in the face. The blaster bolt hit Silas's cheek and passed through harmlessly. His face shimmered. Not real. A projection. Silas laughed through the comms. Still impulsive. Good to know. Then the real trap began. Enemy troopers decloaked all around them. 10, 20, maybe more. Clad in black armor with red visors. The ground shook as dropships landed. Rin stepped forward. We must leave. Jack spun to the ship. Now would be a great time for another magic space jump. Ray shook her head. We can't. Not from here. Jack pulled a grenade from his belt. Old, earth-made, loud as hell. He tossed it toward the troops and shouted, Run! The team sprinted back to the rust bucket as explosions rocked the surface. Blaster fire filled the air like angry bees. Jack dodged, fired, ran, cursed, and ducked behind the ship's ramp. Ray and Rin were already inside. The ship lifted just as the enemy closed in. Jack fired one last shot at a trooper climbing aboard, direct hit, and slammed the ramp shut. Get us out, he yelled. The ship roared and lurched forward. Rin guided it upward, barely dodging fire. Ray sat beside Jack, eyes closed, whispering again. The ship bent space, jumped. Gone. They reappeared at a dark outpost. Nova Station. Old, rusty, neutral zone. No laws, just trade and shadows. Jack landed the ship hard and fast. I need a drink, he muttered. But as he stepped out, he froze. Standing at the docking bay was her tall, strong, wearing a black coat and a look that could freeze stars. Lena Vale, his ex, former partner, now working for no one knew. Hello, Jack. She said. Jack stared. Oh no, not you too. The Vault of Echoes Nova Station was the kind of place where hope came to get stabbed. Everything was dim, flickering, rusted. The walls were stained with stories, most of them violent. The air smelled like old oil and secrets. And Jack Mercer had just walked straight into the arms of one. Her name was Lena Vale. She used to fight beside him. She used to sleep beside him. Now she was standing in front of him like a mirror he'd been avoiding for years. Still wearing that same ugly jacket, Lena said, her voice sharp, teasing, dangerous. Jack didn't flinch. Still breaking hearts and switching sides? Ray and Rin stood behind Jack, silent and still. Lena's eyes shifted to the twins. Her face changed, not softer, sharper. That's them, she said. Jack stepped sideways, shielding them. Don't even think about it. Lena crossed her arms. You're making this bigger than it is. Silas only wants. I know what Silas wants, Jack cut in, and I know what you used to stand for. So what changed, Lena? Did the credits get heavy in your pockets, or did the lies finally start sounding like truth? For a moment she looked almost hurt. Almost. Then she smiled, cold and sad. You don't get it yet, do you? She whispered. This galaxy doesn't care who wins, only who rewrites the story. They walked together through the underbelly of Nova Station. Lena led them to a locked door, hidden behind a fake wall and some graffiti that said, "No gods, no captains, no credits." Behind the door was a chamber, and in the center floated a fragment of the vault. A piece of it, like a memory chip, if a memory chip was the size of a car and glowing with alien script that hurt your eyes if you looked too long. Jack stared. "What is it doing here?" he asked. Rin stepped forward, reverent. "This is the heart, the vault's voice. What you saw before was only the door." Ray added, "This is the truth." Lena stood back. "I brought you here because even I don't know what's inside it. But you might." Jack approached slowly. His fingers tingled as he got closer. The vault pulsed. It recognized him. The symbols shifted, rearranged. Then a voice spoke. Not in sound, in thought. "You are the key. You carry the forgotten name." Jack staggered. His heart pounded. "What name?" he whispered. "The one you gave up. To protect them. To protect all." Suddenly, images flooded his mind. A battlefield in space. Jack, glowing with power, standing at the head of a forgotten army. Ray and Rin, older, commanding. Fleets of light. Silas, once a brother in arms, breaking a truce, starting a war. And Jack, choosing to lock it all away, to bury himself in a new identity. A nobody, a smuggler, a broken man. Because if he remembered, he could destroy everything. Back in the chamber, Jack stumbled back. He looked at Ray and Rin. "You didn't just protect a secret. You used me to hide it." Ray didn't deny it. "You were the safest place," she said. "The most hidden vault is a living one." Lena was watching. Quiet. Eyes calculating. "You get it now," she said. "Why everyone's chasing you. Why Silas wants the twins. He doesn't want the power. He wants to rewrite the past." Jack looked at her. "And what do you want?" Lena hesitated, then said, "I want to remember who we were before we all started lying." Suddenly, alarms blared through Nova Station. Incoming ships. Jack spun to the window. The enemy fleet had found them again. Rin whispered, "They traced the vault's energy." Ray grabbed Jack's hand. "We must go. Now." Lena turned to him. "There's another way out, but you need to choose them or the truth." Jack stared at her. "What if I want both?" "You don't get both," she said. "Not anymore." The vault pulsed behind them, glowing brighter. It began to collapse, folding in on itself like it was being erased from space. Ray gasped. "It's dying. Someone is wiping it." Rin stepped into the light. "No, they're copying it," Jack growled. "Silas, he's stealing the data." Lena's voice was a whisper. "If he gets it all, he can erase you. Rewrite every memory the galaxy has of you." "Erase me?" Jack snapped. "Good luck." Suddenly the vault flared. A beam of light hit Jack in the chest. And then, silence. He fell. Flat. Unmoving. Ray screamed. Rin rushed to him. Lena backed away, and then Jack's eyes opened, glowing. He remembered. He stood. Not Jack Mercer the smuggler, not Jack Mercer the ex-soldier. He stood like something older, wiser, broken, and rebuilt. "I remember. My name," he said. Rin stared. "Then say it." Jack smiled. "No," he whispered. "Let him hear it when I take everything back." Outside, Silas prepared for war. Inside, Jack was no longer running. He was done being a vault. He was the storm. The storm breaks. For the first time in years, Jack Mercer wasn't confused. He wasn't lost. He wasn't some broke ex-soldier stumbling through shady escort jobs. He was exactly what the vault had called him, the key. And now, the lock was open. Nova Station was burning. Silas Kane's ships had arrived in full force, dark, fast, and brutal. They dropped soldiers like rain across the platform. Red blaster fire lit the halls. Civilians screamed and scattered. Traitors ran for cover. Doors sealed. Lights flickered and died. And in the middle of it all stood Jack, glowing like a sun wrapped in human skin. His eyes pulsed with light. His voice vibrated the air. The memory of who he was had returned. Not just as information, but as power. Ray and Rin stood behind him. Lena stood at his side, weapon drawn, silent, unsure if she was fighting with him or watching the end of him. "You sure you're still Jack?" she asked quietly. Jack smiled. "I'm the upgraded version." Down below, Silas strode into the station like he already owned it. His armor shimmered, sleek black with veins of red powered by stolen tech. Around him, his elite squad spread out like a virus. He walked past a group of frightened refugees. One reached for a weapon. Silas didn't even blink. He waved a hand. The man vanished, not dead, erased, like he'd never existed. "Time to clean house," Silas muttered. Back in the vault chamber, Jack's body trembled, not with fear but with too much energy. He gripped the hilt of a weapon that had formed in his hand from pure memory. It was not metal. It was made of light and thought and oath. Rin spoke softly, reverently. "The Echo Blade." Ray looked at Jack. "It recognizes your truth. That's why it returned." Jack looked down at the blade. "Let's see if Silas still bleeds." They moved fast, through fire, through crumbling halls. Jack didn't walk. He flowed, almost weightless, dodging enemy fire like the bullets were old memories he'd already seen before. Every step brought him closer to Silas. The storm was not coming. He was the storm. The battle raged. Lena fought like a ghost. Fast, angry, silent. Ray and Rin unleashed energy bursts no one could see until it hit. One soldier fired, and the beam bent around Rin, like reality didn't agree with the attack. Jack met every challenge head-on. Then, finally, he reached the center chamber. Silas stood there, waiting, surrounded by glowing data cubes, the full memory of the vault copied and ready to upload into a weapon satellite hovering above. "You're too late," Silas said calmly. "With this, I'll rewrite everything. History, war, you." Jack stepped into the room, the echo blade pulsing in his hand. "You always loved the sound of your own voice," he said. "Still doesn't make your lies true?" Silas laughed. "This isn't a lie, it's correction. You don't deserve to be remembered." Jack tilted his head. "And yet here I am." Then came the duel. Jack moved like wind and fire. Silas fought, back with tech-enhanced precision, each strike backed by stolen vault energy. Blades clashed, walls cracked, light exploded around them. But this wasn't just a fight of strength. It was memory versus manipulation, truth versus control. Every time Silas struck, he whispered poison. "You abandoned them. You were afraid. You asked to forget." Jack staggered. Some of it was true, some of it still hurt. Then he looked at Ray and Rin, standing together, fearless. He looked at Lena, bleeding, but still fighting beside him, and he remembered. The real reason he had chosen to forget, not because he was afraid, but because he hoped peace could survive without him. Now it couldn't. And that hope was gone. Jack's final move wasn't with his blade, it was with his voice. He shouted a phrase in the old language of the Protectors. The words burned in light across the floor, seeping into the walls, into the station, into the copied vault. Data. A reset command. Silas paused, stunned. "What did you just do?" Jack smiled. "I just made your lies obsolete." The vault data began to burn from the inside, not destroyed, but purified. The real version. The unedited truth. And it was uploading now. Not to a weapon. To every ship, every data node, every corner of the galaxy. The people would remember. All of it. Silas screamed, charging with one last strike. And Jack stopped him cold. The echo blade pierced his chest. Silas gasped, but he didn't die. He disappeared, A failed rewrite, deleted from the final story. When the lights dimmed and the fire faded, Jack dropped to his knees. He was tired. He was human again. But he was remembered. Ray and Rin came to his side. "You changed the future," Ray said softly. Jack looked up at the stars above Nova Station. "Let's hope it forgives me." The final memory. Jack Mercer unlocked his true self, not just a man, but a memory keeper, a warrior, a key to the truth of a forgotten galactic war. Silas Kane, his old commander turned manipulator, was defeated and erased from history, not with rage but with truth. The Vault's real story was uploaded to the galaxy. The lies were gone, but one final mystery remained. Jack's memory wasn't done with him. The Nova Station was quiet, not peaceful, just the kind of silence that comes after too many people have screamed. The fires were out. The enemies were gone. The survivors. Rebuilding. Jack Mercer stood alone on the upper deck overlooking the stars. His eyes were normal again. No glowing. No weapon in his hand. Just a man. Breathing. Thinking. Behind him, Ray and Rin waited. They knew what was coming. So did Jack. It wasn't over, because one vault still hadn't opened. Rin approached, his voice gentle. "It's time." Jack didn't turn. "I thought the vault was gone." "It was never about the data," Ray said, stepping beside her brother. "The real vault was always inside you." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You're saying there's more?" Ray nodded. "One last door, sealed deeper. A memory not even you could face. Until now." Jack's voice was a whisper. "Why does it always come back to memory?" Rin looked him in the eye. "Because memory is choice, and you've run from this one long enough." They returned to the chamber below the station. The vault fragment still glowed, now a soft white instead of blue. Waiting. Patient. Jack stepped close. The twins didn't follow. "This is yours alone," Ray said. "We cannot go with you." This time. Jack gave them a small, tired smile. Some things never change. He placed his hand on the surface of the vault, and the world vanished. Inside the final memory, he stood in a field of stars. Not space, but something deeper. A sea of memory. In front of him stood a woman, Commander Elara Quinn. She had once led the last real army of peace, the one Jack had fought with, the one that died when Silas betrayed them. She looked at him now, unchanged, beautiful, brave, already dead. "You locked me away," she said softly. Jack's voice cracked. "Because remembering you hurt more than anything else." Elara stepped closer. "You promised you'd never let the galaxy forget, but when it did, you let it forget me first." "I had to," Jack whispered, "to survive." She touched his face. "Jack, surviving isn't the same as living." He dropped to his knees, tears falling freely now. "I couldn't save you," he said. She smiled sadly. "You were never meant to. Only to remember what we stood for, what we gave up." Jack looked up. "So what now? I just carry the past around with me like a ghost?" "No," she said. "Now, you let it go. Back in the real world, Jack." Gasped and opened his eyes. Ray and Rin were waiting. So was Lena. He stood slowly. "I saw her," he said. "The one I loved. The one I lost." Ray nodded. "The memory was your burden, but also your gift." Jack looked at them all, the survivors, the station crew, even Lena, who had quietly been watching without speaking. "You don't need me anymore," he said. "The truth's out. Silas is gone. The past can't hurt us." Rin looked at him. "Then what will you do?" Jack turned toward the docking bay. "My ship still works. Might head somewhere nobody's ever heard of me. Fix something broken. Punch a new liar. Lena stepped forward. Or, you could stay. Jack gave her a look. You still don't know which side you're on. She smirked. Neither do you. He chuckled. Fair. As he walked back to the rust bucket, a small voice called out, Jack. Ray ran up, handed him a small silver cube. What's this? He asked. Ray smiled. A gift. From us. It holds one memory. Just one. You can add it any time. Jack blinked. Why would I want to do that? Because this time, she said, you get to choose what's remembered. He took the cube, stared at it, then pocketed it, and walked up the ramp of his ship. Later, the rust bucket soared through space. Jack sat alone in the cockpit. Stars streaming by. He pulled out the cube, pressed the surface. It pulsed gently. He whispered, play. And a soft hologram appeared. Not data, not war, not death. Just a memory. Alara's laugh. Ray and Rin watching fireworks. Lena smiling. Just once when no one was looking. Jack smiled, then set the course to somewhere far unknown, because some memories are worth carrying, and some are worth building new ones on top of.